Baby, I don't think we can afford to keep doing this every month.
I used to watch those TV shows where they had the Ethiopian kids, and I always thought, you know, I'd really love to support them and give them some money. And then you always wonder how much of that money really goes to them.
We weren't always sure that the money was going where it was supposed to go.
We had heard of different groups who supported or offered sponsorships for children and things like that, and but never knew anything about the organization.
We have heard so many bad things about organizations that you send your money and the money goes to administrative costs.
I was concerned about where the money would go and how it would be used, that it would go to the children.
I decided to support a child through Touch Life because after going on a missions trip, I realized that the funds that are given to the children get to the children.
Being able to go to Honduras and see the children helped me to see what all the funds are really going to.
We know where the money's going. We know that there's accountability in place.
You know that it's being handled by Christian people who really care for the people.
We want to make sure that the biggest portion of our donation goes for the children.
And I never had that concern with Touch a Life.
The funds aren't going towards, you know, people at the top.
We get to hear feedback.
You're able to visit your child. They give you that access. The door's open. There's nothing hidden about the ministry.
When we send our money, we know that it goes to the children.
Knowing that children are being fed that may not get a hot meal, it just was wonderful to see.
I love the letters we get back from the kids. They just tickle me to death.
They are so grateful for the money that we send for them. They thank us for the food, and their well wishes are just, they'll make you, tears come to your eyes when they thank you.
We actually got to see the children being taught.
Children not only receive physical food and nourishment, but they also receive spiritual nourishment.
The spiritual help kind of ingrains hope.
Clear explanation of the gospel, and that's what it's all about.
We started off with one, and the Holy Spirit just says, hey, there's some more hungry kids, so he got another one. And every time I sit down to eat breakfast, he said, you know, there's a kid in Honduras is hungry.
Despair, suffering, disease. What is it about these words that make us think first of children? Malnutrition, starvation, hopelessness. What is it in us that causes these words to first conjure in our minds images of helpless children? And what does it say about us that we're so quick to sympathize and yet so slow to act? Is it a cold heart that causes our delay and procrastination? A lack of sympathy, perhaps, that makes us look the other way? I don't think so. We are probably the most generous generation to ever live on this planet. But our generous spirit has been so often manipulated and deceived by those who touch our hearts only to touch our wallets, that we often shy away from helping, fearing that our help will never reach those for whom it was intended. Like you, I too was long on the desire to help, but short on the confidence that my little would get to where I intended it to go. I was amazed to learn that many times, as much as half of what I intended to donate would never reach the ones for whom I had given it. After serving in a pastoral capacity for 11 years, and now worldwide as a missionary for nearly 30 years, I have seen firsthand the needs of children and the abuse of the relief programs. I knew we could find a better way to help needy children and that together we could make a difference.
Hello, my name is John Nelms, and I want to thank you for joining me for these few minutes. Many of you already know me because for the last 3 decades, you've been helping me to support national preachers around the world. These men have worked tirelessly in starting new churches, and they've already started tens of thousands of them. In fact, right now, we average a new church being started every 3 hours. But besides starting churches, there's other needs they've had, which we've tried to address, like buying Bibles or curriculum, building churches, building schools. But there's one need in particular that they've had in common around the world. And that need I want to bring to you today to see if you'd be willing to help me meet it for them.
The pastors in third world countries often have children literally left on their doorsteps, abandoned, orphaned, even children who have been thrown away by their families. They don't have to seek for these children. They are literally brought to them to care for because in their communities they are known to be the servants of the true and living God. In spite of their poverty, they have had no option but to take these children into their own homes. One by one, we began to sponsor orphan and destitute children until we had soon exhausted our own abilities. So when we had done all we could, we decided to ask you to help us so that together we could do even more. I've seen thousands of kids existing in the most horrible situations. I've seen them naked and dirty, with their bellies swollen because of parasites and worms. Sometimes their disease-ridden bodies are so twisted or broken that they cannot even walk or lift a tiny hand to beg for food. Some have had a hand or foot cut off to make their begging more appealing to the person on the street who will give them more out of sympathy. At other times, before even being close enough to see the color of their eyes, you can see the bruises they have received from their masters for not bringing enough money to them the night before, or the scrape marks of chains and leg irons that they're kept in all night, locked in a room waiting for dawn, when they will be led back to an existence of forced labor or prostitution. I've also seen children who were loved by their parents, living in the squalor of a trash heap or slum or refugee camp. They are as wrapped in poverty as a caterpillar is in its cocoon, only with no hope or expectation of someday flying free. I've seen children who have been abandoned by their families, taken in a cart or a bus to some distant town, then left on a street corner, alone. Fear is followed by horror as they look for their parents in vain. They sleep their first night on the street alone, abused and hungry. It takes only a few weeks, a few beatings, a few sexual violations, and a few encounters with the police before they realize that they were not separated from their parents by a crowd. They were intentionally abandoned because of poverty. Such children are often too young to know their full name or the name of their village. They will forever live on the street, only their forever is usually no more than a few short and horrific years of beatings, cold, and hunger. I've seen little girls and boys as young as 3 years of age who were taken to a market and sold to a stranger to be a house worker, a field hand, or a sex slave, all for as little as $7, not as a payment for one day, but for a lifetime purchase. Slavery still exists all over the world. Only today the price catches not a healthy, strong young man, but a helpless, weak, and defenseless young child. But in reality, there's more to slavery than just the physical. There's also the spiritual, where from birth, children are taught to worship things like cows, monkeys, rats, and other animals. Romans chapter 1 tells us that men once knew God, but they denied the truth regarding God, and they exchanged the truth for a lie, and they began to worship creatures and four-footed beasts. And for this reason, God gave them over to a delusion. Then we find out that they literally begin to worship men as gods. And in some country today, young ladies are worshipped as gods, people coming to kneel before them, asking for their blessing, and for their help, but they have none to give.
Seeing all this suffering face to face, I knew that I had to do something. Grief, shock, compassion, sympathy, they're all noble, but they're not solutions. And the children need a solution. To help with that, we decided to start a new organization called Touch a Life. And for the last decade, I've been going from church to church in America, sharing this ministry with the congregation, and they've responded generously. But the sheer number of suffering children is overwhelming. And to be able to help more of them, we knew that we had to get our message out to a larger audience. So today I'm reaching out to you, hoping that what you are hearing and seeing will motivate you to get involved with us so that we can help more children.
It is incredible to see poverty as it truly exists once you get outside of our country. In the third world, many families live in houses made from sticks and mud, or even cow and buffalo manure. Walls are made from cardboard or plastic tarps. Toilets are just a hole in the ground, and water has to be carried by containers to their houses. Imagine the danger of a child drinking water from a discarded pesticide container. His body is not growing and his brain is not developing as it could and should. Already his hair is beginning to fall out because of malnourishment. That single bowl of rice he gets each day does not have enough vitamin A in it to keep him from gradually going blind. Now the sun has finally risen and his chores are already done. It's time for school. He walks to his classroom ashamed to enter with the rest of the children because he is barefoot and has no uniform. In some countries, he will be allowed to go to the back of the room, but he must sit on the floor because he has no desk. He has no paper, no pencil, no ruler, and no books. He is called an oyente, a listener. He is not allowed to participate or officially enroll in the class as a real student. He is only allowed to listen as the teacher speaks. His questions will go unanswered because they will be unspoken. When the children stop for lunch, he will watch as they eat, but he will have nothing for himself unless it's a tortilla with a little salt, because now even simple beans have become a luxury his family cannot afford. He needs someone who is able, someone who cares, someone who will reach out and touch his life. In some places, abandoned, orphaned, and leper children are forced to beg all day and night to earn enough for one meal a day, just one small child's handful of rice to eat. They are never touched except by the back of their master's hand, never hugged, never tucked in bed. All they know is hard work in the hot sun and the expectation of a life of disease, hardships, hunger, cursing, and abandonment. Such children don't care if you're old or young or if you're single or married. These children don't care if you're already a parent or just dream of someday becoming one. All they want is someone to love them, someone whose unconditional love is backed by the willingness to touch their life. This is the life of typical children in third world countries. If they had had their choice, they would have been born in a wealthy country. They wouldn't sleep on a hard concrete floor. Instead, they would have a comfortable bed. They wouldn't work in the fields every day. Instead, they would be studying in school and playing with friends. They would know that a meal can consist of more than just bread and water. They would know what it feels like to slip their feet into a pair of new shoes, to take a shower with real soap, to feel the cleansing bristles of a toothbrush in their mouth, to have a toy to play with, to know comfort, security, and hope. They would know what it means to play on a ball team, to ride a bicycle, to eat an ice cream cone, to learn that childhood does not have to end by the age of 8. We can't change where they live, but we can change how they live. We can touch their life and make a difference. Let's be honest, we are all strapped by our finances. Few of us have money left over at the end of the month, and to help a child like this will require a sacrifice. But is it not true that where there is a sacrifice, there is abiding love? I know that you have not been where I have been, and you have not seen what I have seen. but I strongly believe that you have the ability to feel what I am feeling. And I believe that if we ask for your sacrifice, we should also provide you with complete accountability. That is why each of our sponsored children are overseen by the pastor of a local church with whom we are affiliated. He sees to their needs personally. He knows where they live. He knows their family. He administers the program to ensure that what you give is used to care for the child you choose to help. He gives them Bible lessons and hygiene instructions, and before they eat, he teaches them Bible verses and songs. He helps them to write letters to you every other month and welcomes you to come and visit and actually meet your child on one of our visionary trips. For 3 decades, we've been helping poor and needy children. Most were orphaned or literally thrown away by their families, abandoned to live and die on the streets. We have seen what it means to provide them with food and clothing and an education. We have seen them grow from the innocence of childhood to the productivity of adult life, and we are filled with pride to see them serve Christ and live their lives as a testimony for Him. To see them graduate, marry, and start families of their own, and even in some cases, to stay on with us as employees, helping us care for the next generation in their country. I am determined that what we have been doing on a reasonably small scale, we must now expand in order to touch more lives and make an impact in other countries around the world. To do that, I need your help. We have seen the impact that our child sponsorship program has made in the local churches. In the beginning, we developed this program because children were being abandoned on the doorsteps of the pastors whom we supported. These preachers were poor themselves and had their own children to feed, but the love of Christ compelled them to sacrifice in order to care for these gifts of God left on their doorsteps. But how? To answer their cries for help, we began to raise support for the children. Now, some pastors have hundreds of children to care for. In some cases, they have built orphanages. In others, they place them in homes of faithful church members. But now, with our Touch of Life program, many destitute children are able to remain with their families and come to our feeding centers to be fed a good meal every day. The outcome of our program has been phenomenal. Churches that previously had 50 members now have hundreds. You see, the parents and grandparents are so thankful that someone is helping their child that it has opened the door for the pastor to witness to them, to win them to Christ, and get the entire family into the church each Sunday. So what does it cost to touch a life? Less than you would expect. Many organizations which claim to help do little more than offer a snack to their sponsored children. You give thinking your donation will provide nutritious meals, but in some cases you've been deceived.
Just last year, I visited such a feeding center in a certain Central American country. When I walked in, they had a menu posted on the wall to inform the children what they would be eating that week. Monday, they were going to have gelatin and crackers. Tuesday, they were going to have chicken broth. Wednesday was going to be a fried tortilla with a little bit of soy spread on top of it. Other days, they were going to have a hot oatmeal drink. One day in particular was cornflakes without milk. It's good to be feeding children, but the sponsors who are giving money think that they're giving their children a complete meal, a nutritious meal, something that'll make them healthy and help them to grow. And they're not getting what they're paying for. While some relief organizations enjoy a tremendous reputation here in our country, sponsors would be surprised to find out what their donations are paying for over there. Imagine giving nearly $40 a month to feed a child, and then finding out that all they get is a cup of Kool-Aid on Friday nights at a youth meeting, along with some crackers. But once a year at Christmas time, they get to go to the mall, and they're given $10 to spend on whatever they want to spend it on. I could go on with more illustrations, but I don't want to. It's not my desire to put down the work that others are doing, even if their best isn't good enough. Nor is it my desire to make it sound like all relief organizations operate in this way. But once I saw the type of work that was taking place around the world in the name of relief work, I was determined that we could do a better job, and we have. So how do we take care of the children that we work with?
We don't hire expensive professional foreigners to run our programs. Instead, we enlist the help of local, reputable Christians who have our same burden, our same heart, and our same Lord. Our supervisors are pastors, missionaries, and church members who serve because they care and for the sake of the children, the ministry, and our Lord's name. Depending on the country, they will receive all the school supplies they need, uniforms and shoes to wear, basic health care and nutritious meals. They learn songs and Bible stories and memorize scripture. And you in turn get a handwritten letter from your child every other month, an updated photograph annually, and anytime you send a letter or purchase a gift, you receive a photograph of your child with your letter or gift, proving he or she received it. And all this for only $35 a month. I know some programs cost less, but they also do less. And to me, just feeding a child once a week or barely feeding him at all is not really caring for them. We are here to make a difference, and to do that, I need your help. Our program has been structured to accomplish more than I ever dreamed possible. It is called Touch a Life because that is exactly what we are doing, touching lives one child at a time. Yes, I know the task before me is insurmountable and that we cannot help them all. I am aware that over 71,000 children die each day due to hunger-related causes. I know that hundreds of millions live on the brink of starvation. I am conscious of the fact that 85 million children live in captivity as slaves and are often chained and used by their owners to fill factories and brothels, living in the most filthy, disease-infected, and hopeless situations that a moral and civilized mind can imagine. I know that I cannot save them all, not by myself. But I also know that though I am not everybody, I am somebody. And though I cannot do everything, I can do something. And what I can do, I must do. And with God's help and yours, I will.
Hi, my name is Daniel Nelms. I'm here to briefly show you how to go to our website to sponsor a child. The first thing you'll need to do is go to touchalife.net. Remember, it's .net, N-E-T. If you put something else, you'll end up who knows where. Here, let me show you. Now, once you get to our website, click the red button on the left that says Support Now. This will bring up our selection page where you have 3 options. The first option is a blue button that says Pick a Child for Me. Most people like this option since we are more likely to know which child's situation is most desperate. When you click this button, a child will instantly be displayed on the screen who needs your help. If this child touches your heart, then follow the payment prompts at the bottom of the screen. If you want to see another child, then click the Pick Another Child for Me button. Your second option is a red button that says Help Me Choose a Child. Clicking this button will take you to another page which will allow you to search for children simply by their country, or do a more advanced search where you can browse through the available children by gender as well as their country. On these pages you can see hundreds of children in need of help, and once you make your choice, just follow the payment options at the bottom of the page. The third option says Urgent Needs. This is generally the choice of those who cannot afford to sponsor a child for $35 a month, but still want to help. Our urgent needs vary from month to month due to many circumstances, like natural and man-made disasters. The funds are used for such things as medicine and medical treatments, funding unsponsored children, crisis relief, etc. No matter what you decide to do, I want you to remember 2 important things. First of all, your donation's tax deductible. And secondly, we only look for 1 child per sponsorship, because more than that simply isn't needed. I hope this was a very easy experience for you, but if you need any assistance, please call the number on your screen.
I can't think of a better thing that you can do than feed children. God's blessed us with more than I ever dreamed I'd have, so I need to share it.
It means more when you share it.
I want to thank you for letting us come into your home for the last few minutes. We really appreciate your time. But we've come to visit you today to show you what we do around the world, where we do it, how we do it, and more importantly, why we do it. And that's because we're really burdened about these children. Look, they're in desperate need. Somebody's got to help them. And if not us, then who? So we've come today into your home to ask you to consider helping us help them by sponsoring one. You can pick up your phone right now and give us a call, or you can go to our website at touchalife.net. And on our website, you'll see pictures of children like this little girl here from India, or this little boy here from Honduras. And you'll have an opportunity to say, I want that child to be mine. We'll send you this photograph, the holder it comes in. You can stick it on your refrigerator. It has a magnet on the back. And remember to pray for him or her every day. We'll send you letters from them, even the application they filled out in order to get support. Now it's all in your hands. What you do with it from this moment on is up to you. And I pray that before you let the cares of this world choke out your attention, that you'll get in touch with us and make a commitment today to touch the life of one of these children. God bless you as you do.